call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. All right, first item is approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Vote by roll call.
Counselor Caceres,
Aye.
Counselor Seha,
Aye.
Counselor Ecclestone,
Aye.
Counselor Lee, you're muted.
Well, Scott, I don't think your vocals are working.
Yeah. Counselor Sini,
Aye.
Counselor Wick.
Aye.
That's a unanimous vote.
Then we go on to presentations, publication, public comment. Is there any, R1 and 10, do you have a public comment?
And if anybody would like to address the council under public comment, they can just raise their little hand on the Zoom tools, and then you can be recognized if that's what you'd like to do. Nope.
All right, so moving on, we have no visitors. Approve the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, vote by roll call.
Counselor Caceres,
Aye.
Counselor Seha,
Aye.
Counselor Ecclestone,
Aye.
Counselor Lee,
Aye.
Ah, there we go.
Counselor Sini,
Aye.
Counselor Wick.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Okay, no public hearing, no old business. We move on to new business. The first item is review the OLCC license application for the 3G restaurant at 325 Main Street.
Yeah, and I've included a staff report in your packet, council, for your review, but basically we don't get a new liquor license application in very often. And so typically when we just do renewals, we just let them, they've already been approved, so we just let them go through their 45-day renewal fee. OLCC asked if, too many acronyms. They asked if we would go ahead and sign this because they'd like to process it rather than waiting for the 45-day period. And because we just don't do them that often, I really need authority from council to sign it. We've done a background check on the applicants. It's for an existing business. We've not had any issues with that business. And the new applicants, we've done a general background check and haven't found anything of concern. And those would really be the criteria in which we would have concerns, or the under state guidance we would be allowed to reject an application. So we would just ask that you approve authorizing the city administrator to sign this application for a liquor license for the G3 restaurant.
Get a motion?
I move to authorize the city administrator to sign and approve the application for a liquor license for G3 restaurant at 325 Main Street in Aumsville, Oregon.
I'll second that.
Vote by roll call.
Counselor Caceres,
Aye.
Counselor Seha,
Aye.
Counselor Ecclestone,
Aye.
Counselor Lee,
Aye.
Counselor Sini,
Aye.
Counselor Wick.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
All right, and just a little background. I guess I probably could have did this in that staff report, but Treba Gams is the applicant and actually the only participant we have in attendee. And it's important distinction. She would like to do some improvements to the property, and she has a vision there. And so the floor plan that you see, we're working through a type 1B process for that expansion. That's a separate process from the liquor license. So we've just approved the issuance of the liquor license, not the expansion. But I think her restaurant's going to be a great addition to the community, and she's got some great ideas about improving the building. I don't want to put her on the spot, but I'm going to see if she would like to say a couple of words. You're welcome to, Treva, and you would just raise your hand, but don't feel obligated because I kind of put you on the spot. She did raise her hand, so we'll call her.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be a part of this community, part of this town, and to bring something that I'm very excited and passionate about. I think we'll bring new set of eyes. We have a very loyal following at our other restaurants that really would like to come out and see what we have here in Aumsville. So I'm hoping it's an opportunity for everybody to have growth.
And Treva, do you want to tell the council about your other two restaurants? I'm sure they've all patroned them before, but.
Yes, I own Gambaretti's Italian restaurant in Salem and the one in Albany. We've been in Salem now over 11 years and Albany just over 2.
Excellent. We'll keep working on that. Thank you, Treva, and I'll get that signed, get it off.
Okay, and thank you all for taking the time to do this for me, and excited to meet you all.
Yes, welcome
Thank
to
you.
Aumsville.
Welcome to Aumsville.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Sure.
Oh,
I think we might have made that too easy. Should we have told her that we need like a lazy river and a drive-in movie theater? I just feel like it was too easy.
Everyone needs t-shirts.
Yes, the
Can
t-shirt.
do.
Yeah.
All right.
So moving on, we have a review for approval resolution number 08-21, a resolution establishing water and sewer rates for the city of Aumsville. We open that up to public comment. So there's no public comment. Do we have a motion? Do you want to talk about it, Ron?
This is just our programmed inflationary increase. This used to be an automatic action, but one of the things we did when we changed all the ordinances last year is we said, yeah, even though we expect that this inflationary increase needs to happen, it needs to come before the council for an actual action item, as well as in front of the budget committee for discussion. We've done that. The budget committee did approve the increase as part of our fiscal policy plan for the next few years. And the only thing that I see that might change that may be, a large capital expenditure, but we do want to give the public an opportunity to address it and tell us any concerns that they may have. But the impact of this 3% is it's pretty small on the overall bill. The items that will be of, big discussion and debate will be, the major capital improvements.
We have a motion. Walter, it looks like you're on mute.
Sorry. I move to approve resolution number 08-21, setting water and sewer rates effective June 1st, 2021 through May 31st, 2022.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
that.
Vote by roll call.
Counselor Casares,
Aye.
Counselor, I'm sorry, my tongue is not working. Counselor Seha,
Aye.
Counselor Ecclestone,
Aye.
Counselor Lee,
Aye.
Counselor Sini,
Aye.
Counselor Wick.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
So moving on, we have review for approval resolution number 09-21, a resolution establishing updated city services fees and public records information request policy. We open that up for public comment. Seeing that there are no longer any attendees, I don't think there is public comment.
And just by way of a staff report, there's only effectively two changes in updating this fee schedule. One is to our business licenses. As council knows, previously we would charge $50 for a peddler's license, and that would be good for a 30-day period. And when we changed our business license ordinance and a review of a legal counsel, they did not feel that the way that we treated peddlers was equal to other businesses, and we needed to kind of issue the processing similar to other businesses. So basically, what we would do now with this schedule is a initial setup of a license for a business, regardless of if it was a fixed business or a transient business or a peddler, would be $25, and then a renewal would be $10. So all of our current businesses, we're currently issuing licenses to all of our businesses in the city. They would just pay a $10 renewal fee each year, and that would be consistent, or it would line up with our fiscal year. So they would be good until June 31st. And we've made all of our license expire at June 31st. And so that they'll line up with our fiscal year. So in the future, we're recommending a $10 charge. That just covers our staff time to do the renewal. And a new business would be $25 because there's a little more setting up a new business and getting the license put together for them. And we did also take out under the court section, we had a $100 fee for interpretive services. A lot of cities were charging for that, just based on our research and advice from our judge and other folks. We're recommending that we just eliminate that fee. And if we need interpretive services, we'll just provide those.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 9-21, a resolution establishing updated city service fees and public records information request policy as presented by staff.
For a second,
Second,
vote by roll call.
Counselor Casares,
Aye.
Counselor Seha,
Aye.
Counselor Ecclestone,
Aye.
Counselor Lee,
Aye.
Counselor Sini,
aye.
Counselor Wick.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Moving on, review for approval, GSI West Tech proposal, task 4 and 5.
All right, in this staff report, if council recalls, we have a current contract with GSI through our engineering firm, West Tech Engineering, to do work on our water rights and our sources of withdrawal and our capacity of our system. So they're doing all of that work. It's actually really good work where a lot of our water rights the transfers were not necessarily completed correctly from the point of withdrawal. So they're cleaning all of that up as part of that process to make sure that our water rights are valid and secure, which was something that we've needed to do for a long time. And then as part of the other work that we're doing, and as part of this extension of this contract, they would be identifying area water rights that the city might be able to obtain and do a transfer into our point of withdrawal. And also to come up with a location for our new well and reservoir using some geotech analysis, I'm going to call it. But basically, as we've explained to council, there's a couple of issues with us from a water standpoint. One is we're in a closed basin, so new water rights aren't really being issued from the state. But then we've got this basalt layer below the city, and it's really hit and miss where we can get a well, and then a well that is going to yield a good amount that makes it worth our while. When we drill a municipal well, it's not like drilling a residential well. It's extremely expensive. And when we drill those wells and we don't get anything, and that happens a lot, even with some analysis like we're doing here, we could, you could physically go over and drill where all of the soils tell you is the best location and get nothing. That's just the way it is. It's kind of hit and miss, but it's worth a little bit of money to do that research because it increases your odds of hitting a productive pocket, by tenfold. So it's worth the investment. So this is just an extension of that original contract to do some more of that work. As council knows, those are projects that we've got in the queue. This work really needs to be done before we can move forward with the reservoir capital project or the well. And we'd like to do those simultaneously. So we're working towards that goal.
And we do this, right? Yeah. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve. I'll do it.
I move to approve the GSI proposed sub-consultant services for West Tech Engineering to complete tasks 4 and 5 as described in proposal not to exceed $30,550 from the Water System Development Fund 024-800.
Seconded.
Vote by roll call.
Counselor Casares,
Aye.
Counselor Seha,
Aye.
Counselor Ecclestone,
Aye.
Counselor Lee,
Aye.
Counselor Sini,
Aye.
Counselor Wick.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, so moving on, Public Works staff vehicles, proposal for a purchase of 2 public work vehicles.
Yeah, we've been saving up in our vehicle replacement fund for a while now. And there's a good amount of money in there for public works vehicles. And the oldest vehicle in our fleet is a 1995. We also have a 1997, and I think there might be a 2001. It's a very old fleet. And so we are proposing the purchase of 2 new pickup trucks. I believe they're both four-wheel drive. I think they're both four-wheel drive. One's heavier duty than the other. This meets our needs in the city, but it also does check one of the boxes in our hazard mitigation plan that we've submitted with Marion County with FEMA for things like, having a vehicle that's more all-terrain in the event of an event like the snowstorm or the ice storm that we recently had. And so this is something that's been on our agenda, on the council's agenda for years. They're being purchased off of a state contract. Now, the motion in your packet is not a complete motion. We've put one up in the chat box. If you can look at that chat box, the total amount for both vehicles with licensing and or accessories is $74,583.53. So it's actually a good bargain under the state contract compared to what trucks cost these days. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Ron, I'm not seeing anything in the chat box yet.
Yeah, neither am I.
I
wonder
bet
if that was early.
I put it in there before you guys signed on. Let me just redo it. That's no problem. We can do it again.
Yeah, the motion in your packet was from the draft, and I amended that motion to be more clear, and somehow it didn't save. I don't know if that was me or what happened.
Okay, here we go. Now everyone should be able to see it.
Yes.
I move to approve the purchase of 2 public works vehicles as prescribed from Fund 20-810 in the amount of $74,583.53 as presented.
I'll second that.
Second.
Vote by roll call.
Counselor Casaret,
Aye.
Counselor Seha,
Aye.
Counselor Ecclestone,
Aye.
Counselor Lee.
Aye.
Counselor Sini,
Aye.
Counselor Wick.
Aye.
That is a unanimous vote.
Yay, we got new trucks. Okay, so moving on, the city administrator report.
Typically, this is my off month report, so I usually just give a verbal in this meeting, and I'm trying to think, there's so many things going on. As you know, since our last meeting, there's been a dynamic shift in the state's position related to COVID and guidance for that. Our guidance is going to remain fairly consistent with what we've been doing, and that's masks required in the office, and partially because of the fact that we do have some people that opted not to be vaccinated. And so we really don't have much of an option because we're in the office environment. So from that standpoint, but we will go ahead and change our policies related to travel training. So this last year, we eliminated travel training just because we didn't think anybody should go somewhere to a big conference or something like that. Not that there were any happening, but just as a policy, we eliminated that. So we'll reinstate that, and we'll amend the policy in accordance with the guidance where we can implement it. And so that's what we'll be doing with COVID restrictions. We right now have not been renting out the community center. It's under construction with the remodel of the kitchen, so we'll maintain that. As soon as I get back from vacation, staff and I will look at going ahead and reserving our park shelters and re-implementing that from a standpoint. We've let people use the park. We haven't closed the parks, but we just, as a matter of policy, haven't been renting the shelters because under our policy, it's for over 75 to reserve the shelter, over 75 participants, and you couldn't have 75 participants. So up till now, so we just said, okay, well, we can't rent it. Otherwise, if you had less than 75, it's just first come, first serve, and it doesn't cost you anything. So at this point. So that's kind of the update on COVID. The numbers have been decreasing, which is good. Not sure why they, if it was just the natural progression that they peaked, because it was like a week before we were in lockdown and a week later, now the floodgates have opened, which is what we expected. And it's good to see, because that just means as we get closer to our summertime events, hopefully this trend will continue. So that's COVID. Our projects are moving along. They're probably on schedule, but it's very tricky with projects because, and some of you are in the industry, so I know you know this, the supply chain has been greatly disrupted. And you can't get things like PVC pipe for water projects. We can buy, like we bought the dog fountain, but we were struggling getting the pipe to put in the dog fountain. So the dog park is in, the fence is in. We planted the soil, put the sand and the soil down and replanted that. I think we may have gotten pipe for the water fountain, but it took a while and it's difficult. Plywood on the Little Village project, OSB, when we priced that project out was, I think it was around $13 a sheet. And now it's $64 a sheet was the lowest price I can find. And whoa. I can't remember, but that project is all sheeted with OSB, right? So that is really driving the cost of that up. But we're working our way around all of those little difficulties, and we're going to see these projects through and get them done. It's just difficult projects to fit in become more and more difficult when the supply chain has been interrupted. And we hear that from subcontractors too, all the time about, they can't get fittings and different things like that. Wildwood Park is open. I did a ribbon cutting for the new hardware store on Friday, and got to walk through the store. Honestly, I've just been so busy. I haven't really went down and cruised the store yet until Friday. And it's a gorgeous store. I mean, they did a really top-notch job of putting the displays together. And if you look at their inventory, they've got just lots of stuff. So if you need something, try them first, because they've got a good inventory. I did let them know that, they were welcome. We don't get invited to do a ribbon cutting very often. So it was kind of, I think maybe my first one since I've been here. And it was great to do. And I did let them know how welcome they were to the community, and how, part of their project is helping to improve the community, because we see the property was improved, but it's also attracting other investment into the community. Things like Treva that we just talked to at the Pizza Peddler, and other businesses that we see coming in all the time now. So anytime you get that investment in infrastructure, I think you're going to see a greater interest. So that was great. There's probably all kinds of things I could talk about for hours and hours of what's going on in the city, but I won't bore you with that. And just let you know that I will be gone beginning Thursday, Friday of this week, and then all through next week. I'll be available by phone, but I'm sure my capable staff will have fun while I'm gone, and they will be able to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of.
I think I asked. Where are we on having the meetings back? And well, we don't have the community centers being remodeled. Never mind.
As soon as we're done with the kitchen remodel, we'll schedule. We've got the sound equipment in. We've got some really nice new big screen TVs up, so that if audiences are in attendance and we're doing PowerPoint presentations, they can see them from literally any place they sit in the community center. It's a mess now, but it will not be a mess when we resume our public meetings. And we'll see what the policies are. I'm thinking, the cabinets are coming in, I think, somewhere in the end of June, early July timeframe. So if that schedule sticks, we should be good for the August meeting by the time we get everything done in there. And we'll see what we'll have to see what the current policy is. If we were operating it based on today, then we'd either have to check vaccination records at the door, or proof of vaccination at the door, or just everybody stay in a mask. And so obviously, if we didn't have anybody attend, I think, I mean, I'm not going to say this for sure, but I think everybody's vaccinated here. But if not, it's just if you have somebody that's unvaccinated under the current guidelines, now everybody else has to go through a process because of that. I don't like it. I don't necessarily like the rule. I think it puts a responsibility off on us and the businesses to kind of be the monitor of the rules or something like that. And I think to some extent, I think it calls out people that aren't vaccinated. And I don't know that that's necessarily sits well with me either, but unfortunately it's the state and they make the rules. So.
So moving on. Mayor and councilor reports. I have none. Anyone else?
I just had a question for Ron. When do we get census data? Because it'd be really, I think, valuable in terms of obviously grants and also just for our own knowledge, just all that demographic information.
That's a good question. I mean, on one hand, as an example, I almost wish that we weren't in this cycle to get the new census data. And the reason being is because it was very favorable for us for grants in the previous cycle. And I've been told by the midterm surveys that we no longer qualify for CDBG grants, or we no longer have the low to moderate income threshold that we need to have. Now, those surveys are oftentimes not very accurate because sometimes they could target unfairly one neighborhood. Like, let's say, for instance, our newer neighborhood, if there were a lot of
Right.
people surveyed in there, probably right. So I'm not sure. It's my suspicion is we probably have tipped that scale from that lower income level. And if that's the case, then it's actually less valuable to us from a grants perspective. But there is good data in census information from just the perspective of trying to understand the community as a whole, what makes up our community, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm not really sure when we'll actually get. Have you heard anything, Colleen, from them as a published date? There's information out there, but I don't believe it's the full census information that's being distributed, because I know, I think OSU is updating their population projections based on some of that data. So there's data out there. I just don't know if they've released the full scale package yet, or when they're going to do that.
Ron, the last I saw was that it's going to be released sometime in September.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, as an example, we've been working with this whole DEQ MAO, which our draft permit, and maybe I should report on this now that it came to the top of my head. Our draft permit is issued, and we're commenting on it from a staff report, and then this is the wastewater discharge permit, right? And so what we were waiting for was DEQ to issue the draft permit. It goes through a public comment period, and then they finalize the permit. And that's what really triggers the implementation of our capital facilities plan. So basically the chain of events will be, they issue the permit. Based on the permit issuance, we submit the capital facilities plan draft. That goes through a review with DEQ. They take public comments on it, and then they basically sign off on the capital facilities plan, and then we come back and adopt it. Once you get to that adoption stage, then we know what we have to do and how much it's going to cost, and we can go out and fund it. And to some extent, I've been somewhat in a hurry and wanting this to happen faster than it's actually happening. As an example, if we would have followed the original time schedule, that permit really should have been issued months ago. And we should have been adopting or close to adopting the capital facilities plan. Well, if we have to build a plant, and that is the end result, I would have rather done it under the current climate. If we're using our old census data, we would get a bump from USDA for being a low to moderate income community. And that's not a CDBG grant, that's a USDA clean water grant. They give you a bump for that. And then we're under an enforcement action, so they give you a bump for that. And we could have qualified, not that we would have gotten a 75% grant, but we could have qualified for up to a 75% grant, stacking all those conditions on. And when you're thinking of a $15 million project, if we could get a grant for $10 million, well, that's a great scenario for us. Now, probably what will happen is we'll if we do go the route of USDA, and we're not able to get money from the ledge or the federal government, and we have to fund it, we'll still get a nice grant, but we won't get those stacked benefits that we would have got before the census, that we'll now not get, because by time we get to the end result, all of that will have been resolved. So it's kind of unfortunate. The other thing is money's never been this cheap. We can go out and borrow money for a little over 1% or 1.5% or something like that. I think that's what the latest numbers were, or that may have been a month ago, so they may have went up just a little bit, but it's very inexpensive. And that's another thing that when you look at the cost of finance and you look at the inflationary cost of construction over time, if we find out we have to build this thing, it's in our community's best interest for us to go full steam right at it, because it's only going to get more expensive and the money is only going to get more expensive. And you take something that, let's just say it was I'm just going to throw a number down. I have no idea that this is just for reference. Let's say this became a $30 capital rate increase. That same condition 2 years from now could be $50 or $60. So, we're better off to get in under the lowest conditions because it's going to save folks money in the long run. So yeah, we'll cross all those bridges when we get to it. But I mean, I'm just kind of, throwing my thoughts out there right now of there's never been a better time to have to deal with some of these issues than now. We've got a little bit of money in our accounts. We can buy down some of the cost of these, not a lot, but we can buy down some of the cost right now. And then when you stack cheap money, grants, and the MAO, the enforcement action does get us favor with the grants as well. So,
are we able to use? I know it's been mentioned before about using free and reduced lunch numbers as potentially some data to kind of assist us in getting some grants. Is that something that's still a possibility?
They go by the census. They use that. That's basically the baseline that all the government entities use. So whatever that census data is, that's what they're going to go with.
Okay. And I know we had discussed potentially going through the COG to do some grant writing work. Is that something that we're still considering, or?
Yeah, I'm in touch with the COG for a couple of reasons. They're helping us put the TMG grant application together. That's that land use / transportation plan update grant, and that's like a $250,000 grant. So those land use and transportation plans are extremely expensive to the consultants are really expensive for the work that they've got to do. So that's a good grant to get if we're going to get one. And that will really help, I think, move our ID zone forward. I'm not sure if they would actually want to do the planning work or not for that. I think it just depends on their workload right now. They're extremely busy and they're working on our buildable land inventory and helping to do that UGB work that we're doing. But yeah, I've thrown that out there if they're interested in that work. And they just have limited staff. So will they help us? Yes, as part of their member services, they'll help make contacts and guide us and sit in on one stops and things like that. But as far as like going out and searching grants for us and writing them, I don't think they got the staff capacity to be that proactive.
Yeah, I think it's Renata, like maybe one or two other people, I think, right? I mean, in her group, I mean, it's not really huge, so.
It's a small staff, and you got to remember right now, everybody got a lot of money, whether it came from, the COVID relief funds or, they're eyeing all of these projects with money that might appear. And so they're doing a lot of preliminary engineering and consultant work. So all the consultants and the engineers are just completely slammed with all of these projects from cities, thinking that this America Rescue money is going to come in, and then they're going to be able to do a bunch of these projects that they've had on hold. We were lucky that we actually had our projects in the queue with West Tech, kind of even before that, because it just hit the cycle of work we wanted to get done.
Awesome.
Yeah. I did hear, just a little side note, since we're on the conversation, every time I talk, something else comes up. America Rescue Plan. I was on a conference call with the League of Oregon Cities last week, and they did mention that there might have been some miscalculations with the direct distribution formula. They don't think it's huge, but I haven't seen anything that updated those numbers yet. So I kind of said, you know, with these federal bills, you wait till you get notification from the entity that's distributing them, like SAMS or DAS or somebody, of what you're going to receive. That's your official notification, and that's what you know that you're going to get. So the numbers may be a little off that we're going to get from them, but I expect them to be in the general vicinity. But
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it.
no problem.
So if there isn't anything else, correspondence, we don't have any, Ron? No executive session. And if that's it, I think we're done. All right, let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7:41.